Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started in just a moment. Thank you. We're just doing another sound check here before we get going. We were having a little bit of feedback. It seems to be better, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting this evening. So I'd like to welcome you tonight to our virtual construction update meeting for the Transform 66 Outside the Beltway project, hosted by the Virginia Department of Transportation and our project partners, I-66 Express Mobility Partners and FAM Construction. My name is Michelle Holland, and I'm with Vdot's Mega Projects program. And on behalf of our team, I would like to thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight's session will focus on construction activities along the I-66 project corridor in the eastern part of Fairfax County, from I-495 to Germantown Road. Tonight's session will begin with a presentation followed by a question and answer period. Our goal tonight is to provide you with the latest construction updates and also give you an opportunity to interact with project staff and ask questions. Tonight's meeting is also being streamed live and recorded on Vdot Live YouTube channel. Following tonight's meeting, a recording of that stream will be available on our project website at transform66.org. Now, before we begin tonight, I would like to introduce you to some special guests that we have with us this evening, as well as our speakers panel. I'd like to first recognize and thank Supervisor Dahlia Palchik for joining us this evening. Supervisor Palchik, if you would like to say a few words, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself, please go ahead and do so.
Sure. Thank you, Michelle. Can you hear me? Okay. Hopefully you can all hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. No, thank you. Just want to go ahead and thank everyone for participating tonight. Looks like we have a good group. I know we've been working with many of you to try to get answers to questions as the construction moves along. I want to thank Vdot and the partners for hosting this meeting. I know that there's still many outstanding questions and the updates are very much appreciated. Again, if you are here tonight or if you are watching online, please continue to ask your questions through the Transform 66 website. And if you do need to connect with me or my staff, you can always reach us at providence@fairfaxcounty.gov. To that, I will turn it back over to Vdot. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here tonight. I'd also like to recognize our partners from Fairfax County, including Yu-Ching Chung, who is here this evening with us. Thank you for joining. And I'd now like to introduce you to our speakers who will be presenting this evening. Susan Shaw, who is our Mega Projects Director for Vdot in the Northern Virginia District, will be here presenting, along with Nancy Smith from FAM Construction. I'd also like to recognize Chris Doherty, Corporate Affairs Director from I-66 Express Mobility Partners, and Richard Clifton from FAM Construction, who serves as the engineer in charge. They are both here as well to help out with questions. Before we get started, I just wanted to run through a couple of quick ground rules to make it a little easier for you. If you are joining us through WebEx, you will be able to ask your questions by accessing the WebEx Q&A function. Just click on the Q&A room, select all panelists on the drop-down menu, and then type in your question. If you are going to be typing in a question through WebEx, we ask that you do use that Q&A function to do so. If you're joining us via YouTube, or you're not able to submit your question through the Q&A room on WebEx, You can call our construction hotline number, 703-662-3892, to ask your question. Our team is standing by at that number and will relay your question to our speakers. You can type in or call in your questions at any time during tonight's meeting, but we will not begin answering them until after the presentation. Please keep in mind that in the interest of time, if we get multiple questions that are similar in nature, we will provide a combined response. Okay, if you're using the WebEx Q&A feature to ask your questions, we ask that you only write in your questions. The Q&A feature should not be used for any other type of commentary during the meeting tonight. If you have a question that is very localized or direct impact related, we ask that you direct those questions. You can ask them tonight, but we will be responding to you. We'll follow up through email or phone. We need questions such as that may require additional research. So you can either wait for us to respond to you in the next day or so, or you can email us through our Transform 66 email address if you do have a specific direct impact question. Okay, I'd now like to get started with our presentation, and I'd ask Susan Shaw to kick us off. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. So good to be here tonight, and thank you for joining us. I'm just going to give a brief intro, and then I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Smith, who's going to give some detailed construction information about what's coming up in the next couple of months. So the timeline you see in front of you is one we've been using for quite some time, and we were last doing a meeting like this in the fall, back in October. And that was after we had taken advantage of our Orange Line shutdown in the summer of 2020. Of course, we were also able to take advantage of a lot of reduced traffic in the corridor that allowed us to have some additional lane closures and really get a lot done last summer. We've continued with that this summer, but I will say traffic is picking up as people get back to their routine. So in November of 2020, we made a major milestone out at the Route 28 interchange by removing the signals, 4 traffic signals on Route 28 that were associated with movements in that corridor that are now handled by ramps that have been constructed by the project. And today we're working towards our December 2022 opening of the express lanes, and you'll see there is some construction work anticipated after that time. That would be some of the cleanup type activities and some work that would wrap up in mid-2023. And we are on track for that. And I would just mention that there was an interim milestone that actually was today, which was to shift traffic out in segment 1, which is on the western end of the corridor. And so we're excited that traffic shift to the outside lanes out in that area of the corridor has been achieved. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy and let her begin giving some detailed information on what's happening. She's going to begin at the 495 interchange and work her way west. Tonight, we're covering the eastern end of the corridor up to Route 50. I just mentioned last night we did a similar meeting, but for that middle section of the corridor, and that is available on our website if anyone wants to look at that information. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy.
Thank you, Susan. As Susan said, we'll get started at the 495 interchange. Just to orient you to the picture that you see on the screen, we are looking over the 495 I-66 interchange, looking towards the west. The new bridges that you see under construction in the center of the picture are new ramps to the westbound express lanes from 495. And those beams were recently set in the last few months. And then you see so we're looking towards the west with westbound 66 being on the right-hand side and 495 south being the roadway that you see running parallel at the bottom of the screen. So what are we building at the 495 interchange? At this interchange, we're reconstructing, adding with 8 new ramps that will accommodate new connections to the I-66 express lanes. Work's been underway for quite a while here at this interchange. We've set beams on several of the new bridges. We've been doing an extensive amount of earthwork for those new ramps. And we've also begun some partial demolition. Earlier this spring, we completed partial demolition of the I-66 West Bridge over 495 South. And this is to allow for the widening of those I-66 bridges over 495. Coming up over the next few months, we will continue setting beams on new bridges and ramps throughout the interchange. As you travel through this interchange, particularly during the overnight hours, you should expect traffic impacts due to those beam installations. And those will be occurring throughout the summer and into the fall of this year. We'll also have some traffic shifts on some of the existing ramps to allow construction to continue. And there will be additional partial demolition of the I-66 east and west bridges over 495 north and south to allow for the widening of the I-66 roadway coming up in the future as well. And prior to beginning that demolition, we'll do our community outreach as we do during for demolition activities. Moving to the west at Gallows Road, the image that you see here is looking over top of Gallows Road. We're looking to the south. And so you can see the Dunloring Metro Station and then Gallows Road bridges over top in the center of the screen. The Metro parking facility being on the top end of the photo, Stenwood Elementary School being on towards the bottom of the photo. At Gallows, we are building new Gallows Road bridges over I-66. These bridges are being built in 2 phases to allow for continued through traffic on Gallows Road during construction. We're widening the bridges and shifting Gallows Road slightly to the east, also improving pedestrian and bike access across Gallows Road. So far, we've completed construction of the future northbound Gallows Road Bridge. You can actually, in this picture, see the brand new concrete on that bridge. So it's the bridge to on the left side or the east side of the screen, and you see the existing bridge kind of in the middle or to the right or the west of that. We'll be shifting traffic onto this new bridge in August of this year. And temporarily, while we work to construct the new southbound side, all Gallows Road traffic will be on that new bridge span. So again, traffic will be shifted here later this summer in the August timeframe. Once we shift traffic to that new bridge span and to the new alignment, we will begin demolition of the old Gallows Road Bridge over I-66. And that will begin sometime in August. As we get closer to that activity, we'll be sending out outreach to the surrounding communities to provide some additional details and timing. However, we do want to note that as with all demolition around travel lanes, we will do demolition activities when feasible during the daytime hours. However, when we must work over travel lanes of I-66 or over top of the Dunloring Metro Rail Station, this work must be done during the overnight hours when we can safely close the travel lanes for safety and do the demolition at night when travel lanes are closed for the safety of the traveling public. Once the old bridge is demolished, we'll begin construction of the new Gallows Road South Bridge over I-66. That construction will take approximately a year. During that time, we'll also be working on the realignment of Gallows Road, both north and south of the bridge on the east and west sides. And for those of you who may be tuning in that have students attend Stenwood Elementary School, our work is being coordinated closely with the school, and we do plan to do our majority of our traffic tie-in work around the school driveway while school break is while school is not in session over the winter break time period, to better accommodate the school schedule. At Nutley Street Interchange, the image that you see here is actually a rendering of the future design of the Nutley Interchange. We have here it's a double roundabout configuration, or as our project team lovingly calls it, the dog bone. It looks slightly like a dog bone pattern. This double roundabout configuration does help accommodate the widening of I-66, but also an improved safety for travelers getting on and off 66, as well as through traffic on Nutley Street. It also allows us to improve pedestrian access and accommodates a shared use path through the interchange, as you can see depicted here with the yellow line. So the yellow line that you see in the image is the alignment of the future shared use path, winding its way through the interchange, connecting to future trails to the north and south of I-66, as well as connecting to the I-66 corridor trail. Construction will be done at the interchange in phases to be able to keep traffic on Nutley Street moving, of both the roundabouts as well as the permanent ramps. A major benefit of this design is that it requires that we do not demolish the existing bridge nor construct a new bridge in its entirety, which was seen as a benefit to the surrounding communities when we approached this design. There will, however, I do want to note, be multiple traffic shifts on Nutley Street over the next year and a half as we work to construct this interchange in phases. And as always, we ask the traveling public to please pay attention to signs and lane markings as you travel through any construction area. The roundabouts that you see in the image here will be built in sections as the new ramps are built, and traffic will be shifted to the permanent ramps in phases to allow the construction to progress. While we're working on reconstruction of the roadway, we'll also be constructing the shared use path in phases as we construct the road and the ramps. A little bit more about Nutley Street, kind of what's been done and what is coming up in the near future. The image that you see here is over top of the Nutley interchange, taken a few weeks ago. We're looking towards the south. So you can see kind of in the upper right-hand side of the screen, the parking facility at the Vienna Metro Rail Station for some orientation. Here we have shifted traffic onto temporary ramps to and from I-66, and we've begun construction of both pedestrian box culverts as well as drainage crossings in the area. And I should say these pedestrian box culverts are what allows us to allow for grade separation between the shared use path and the roadway as the shared use path winds itself through the interchange. What's coming up in the future, we'll continue to work on construction of the box culverts for the pedestrian path under Nutley Street, as well as begin construction of the ramps on the western half of the interchange. We're working on 4 major retaining walls in the area, and we'll begin rehabilitation of the existing bridge abutments this fall. Later this fall, we will be doing some bridge some rehabilitation of the existing bridge deck. We'll begin working on the northbound side of Nutley Street, and then when that northbound side is complete, we'll move to the south side. While we're working, two-way through traffic will be maintained on the opposite bound of the road that we're working on. So when we start working on the northbound side, we'll have through traffic on Nutley moving on the southbound lanes. Pedestrian access will be maintained on one side of the bridge at all times during the construction. But as you can see, the Nutley Street interchange will not be fully complete until 2022. At Vdot Drive Bridge, here in the image, you can see we're looking over top of Vdot Drive, looking to the south. You can see the Metro parking garage, the South Metro parking garage, in the upper left-hand corner of the image. This new bridge is being wide. The bridge was demolished and reconstructed and widened to accommodate the widened footprint of I-66, but also to allow new express lane access ramps to and from the west. So in the image that you see here, while you can see the Metro train running down in the center of the screen, just to either side of the Metro train, you see what look like little lines across the roadway, and those are actually the piers for those new express lane ramps. So what's coming up here? We are constructing those express lane ramps in that center median. We began setting steel beams earlier in June, and we will complete beam installation of some concrete beams here in July. So we'll be working on those ramps and anticipate having those ramps completed this fall. We'll also, as that work progresses, currently pedestrian access exists on across Vdot on the east side along the shared use path, and the west side sidewalk is currently closed due to the active construction taking place on the west side of Vdot Drive. This fall, by this fall, we'll also be able to open that west side sidewalk across the bridge from Sainsbury Drive to Country Creek Road. And we're keep moving west at the 123 or the Chambridge Road interchange. Here in the image, just to orient you, we are in the south looking towards the north so we're I'm standing in the city of Fairfax and looking towards Oakton with I-66 in the middle. Here at 123, we are reconstructing the entire interchange to accommodate the widening of I-66, as well as the addition of express lane access ramps, both to and from both the east and the west. In the final configuration, 123 will have access to the express lanes in both directions at all times. So far, we have shifted traffic onto the new Route 123 North Bridge over I-66. That was done just around the end of last year, December 30th, I believe, 2020. In the image, in the center of the screen, you can see where the brand new concrete is. That's the new northbound span, and just to the left of it, you can see the construction of what it will be the new southbound span. Currently, all 123 traffic is traveling on that new northbound span as we work on the southbound bridge. We demolished both of the old bridges earlier this year in January, and then shortly thereafter began work on the southbound bridge with completing beam installation there in this past May. We're working on doing deck work on the southbound bridge currently, as well as working on the shared use path that will run throughout this interchange, connecting to the I-66 corridor path on the north and to the future, I believe, George Snyder Trail in the city of Fairfax to the south. We're also will begin the foundations for those new express lane access ramps this summer, later this summer. This fall, anticipate shifting southbound traffic onto the new South 123 South Bridge over I-66 and onto the new southbound alignment. There'll also be lots of ramp openings at this interchange this year. Currently, we have many of the ramps on a temporary alignment. As you can see here on the screen, we will be opening new ramps beginning this summer, later this summer and into fall. So the ramp from Route 123 North to I-66 West is a loop ramp, and you can start to see the outline of that ramp in the image in the just to the upper right of the northbound bridge deck. So in the kind of the northeast quadrant of this picture. That loop ramp will open up here later this summer. The ramp from Route 123 North to I-66 East will remain in its a similar configuration. It will just be shifted to its to permanent pavement later this summer as well. Along 123 South, to access I-66 East, you're currently in a temporary configuration. But once the bridge can work on the new southbound bridge is complete, we'll be able to open up what will be the new 123 South to I-66 East loop ramp. And you can see the outline of that forming in this image here in the bottom left corner of that image. And then the final ramp that will open at this interchange this fall is the ramp from 123 South to I-66 West, in a similar configuration to how the existing ramp, it's actually pulled in a little to the south, and that will open up here later this fall as well. And then, of course, road work along 123 North and South of the interchange will continue as we work on those express lane access ramps and final items around the interchange. Again, as a reminder, there will be many traffic pattern changes and traffic shifts happening at this interchange over the coming months and the next year. So as you travel through and around this interchange, please pay attention to your lane markings and signs as traffic patterns may be different from what you previously experienced. Right. At Germantown Road, we are reconstructing Germantown Road Bridge over I-66, widening it and shifting it slightly to the west. This bridge is being built in 2 phases to be able to maintain traffic over top of I-66 on Germantown. The image that you see here is looking towards the south, towards the city of Fairfax. And you are looking at the brand new Germantown Road, phase 1 of the brand new Germantown Road Bridge that opened up on May 13th of this year. Shortly after opening the new bridge, we demolished the old bridge, and now we have begun construction on the remainder of the new bridge, or the second phase. The old bridge did not have pedestrian facilities across the bridge, but the new bridge does. And the sidewalk just to the north and south of the new bridge on the west side of the roadway will be opening up to pedestrian access in early July here in the coming days. But throughout the summer, you'll have continued road work as well as construction of the remainder of the new bridge. As Susan mentioned, we're going to kind of stop at the Route 50 interchange. We did want to bring this to your interchange to your attention, as there's been significant change here over the last week, and some more changes coming up in the near future. Just to orient you on this picture, we're over top of, looking over top the middle of the Route 50 interchange at I-66, looking towards the north. Yes. Yes, north. My orientation is off. I'm sorry, we're looking towards the south. The south, I'm sorry, yes, excuse me, I was confused. We're looking towards the south over here. So we've widened rebuilt and widened the existing bridges, as well to accommodate the widening of I-66 and provide new connections from Route 50 East to the eastbound express lanes and from the westbound express lanes to Route 50 West. We recently, as you can see, have completed construction of the new Route 50 East and West bridges over I-66. Those beams were set this past winter, and the work on those decks has been ongoing all spring. And those are the bright white bridges that you can see in the middle of the image here. We've also been working on road work to align Route 50 East and West onto the new alignment. And on Sunday, this past Sunday, June 27th, we opened the new Route 50 West bridge to traffic and shifted all Route 50 westbound Route 50 traffic onto the new roadway alignment. We'll begin shifting the eastbound Route 50 traffic onto the new bridge on or about July 10th. And as part of the progress of this interchange, as we move traffic to the new bridges, we will begin demolition of the old Route 50 bridges. Demolition of the westbound bridge, the old westbound bridge, actually began last night with some preliminary activities, and will continue tonight and for the coming days and weeks. As a reminder, as demolition here will occur during the daytime when it's feasible, but when demolition is over the travel lanes of I-66, it must occur during the overnight hours. Once those bridges are demolished, we'll continue to do earthwork and constructing of the new ramps, and then begin constructing of the express lane access ramps at this interchange. Now, our work along the project corridor is not limited to the interchanges and crossings. We are also widening I-66, and much of our work over the last year has been along Mainline 66, has been in preparation to shift travel lanes of I-66 east and west onto the new general purpose, or what will be the new outer lanes throughout the corridor. We began shifting various sections throughout the corridor this past spring. As Susan mentioned earlier, we met a milestone just last night by completing shifting traffic out on the far western portion of the project corridor onto those new general purpose lanes. And we're working to do that in various sections for the remainder of the project. Between 495 and Germantown Road, we have already shifted travel lanes between Chambridge Road and Blake Lane on 66 West, as well as in that same area on I-66 East. And in the late July, early August timeframe, we will shift traffic between Gallows Road and Nutley Street on 66 West to the new general purpose lanes, or outer lanes, through that section. As you may have experienced in the area between Blake Lane and Route 123, if you travel through that area, some of these shifts, particularly in parts of the corridor where our space is limited, may include temporary traffic splits, where we split off a lane of traffic to allow work to continue in between. And we're also working to shift traffic further west between Waples Mill Road and Route 28, and have a goal to have all the travel lanes shifted to those new outer lanes in the area between just west of Stringfellow Road and Route 50 by the end of this September. In addition to the roadway widening, we are also continuing to work on construction of noise walls and retaining walls in various locations throughout the project corridor. Just like many industries, we have experienced some delays in material supplies, particularly with steel posts and panel productions for noise walls. And some of those delays are due to that are being felt across the corridor due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. We continue to work through that and with our manufacturers and suppliers as best we can. as we work to construct those new walls. In addition to noise and retaining wall construction, we are also working on constructing that shared use path that will run along I-66 West, and particularly in areas between Blake Lane and Waples Mill Road, and around the Nutley Street interchange and near Cedar Lane Bridge are some of the more noticeable areas as you drive through the corridor where you'll see that shared use path being constructed. And one of the final items that we need to complete once those noise walls are installed are final grading and drainage on the non-highway side of the new noise walls. The images that you see here in the picture are just some examples of some of the types of noise walls that are being installed on the project. The upper image is an example of noise walls that are ground mounted or sitting on the ground. These are of a concrete material with a sound absorptive finish on the highway side of the wall. And then the image that you see on the bottom of the screen is an example of a noise wall that's mounted atop of a retaining wall, and in this case, a mechanically stabilized earth retaining wall. These are special engineered noise walls that are engineered to attenuate noise to the necessary decibel level, but are of a lighter weight material that can be installed on top of those retaining walls. As part of our project, we also have developed a corridor revegetation plan. We developed this by construction subsegments as we have divided up our construction work as well. These final approved plans will be available on the project website, outside.transform66.org. And in there, those plans, the image that you see here is just a sample of the types of plans that you would see. They're fairly complex, but what the plans do include are call outs of indigenous and non-competitive species, but also plants that are hardy, ones that can survive next to alongside a roadside environment. However, any plantings of trees along the project corridor are restricted to within a Vdot right-of-way where we have space available and in spaces that are not encumbered by other utilities or easements. Any of our vegetation that we plant throughout the project corridor will occur as a final construction item as we finish out areas during the closest planting season to provide the plants the best chance of survival, and also to limit the possibility of us needing to come back and remove plantings should additional work need to be done. We have avoided planting this past spring and summer due to the brood X cicada invasion or minor invasion, depending on which part of the corridor you lived in. But those little friends love to eat new plants, so we have not begun the revegetation at this time. Skip the slide, sorry about that. So just as a final slide, we have lots of great tools and places where you can go to get more information about what's going on the project. The project website, transform66.org, has all kinds of information about lane closures and traffic pattern changes. This information is updated on a weekly or more frequent basis as needed. We have section pages for 19 interchanges and overpasses and other various features along the project corridor. There's an interactive map that allows you to see project features by zooming into a specific location along the corridor, and much, much more. So I strongly encourage you to visit the project website. If you haven't, and if you have, but it's been a while, please go, because I'm sure things have changed since you've last been. We also send out regular email communications, typically about 5 emails or so per week, announcing upcoming traffic pattern changes, travel impacts throughout the corridor. If you do not receive these email and traffic alerts, you can sign up for them on the project website to stay informed. A great place to keep up to date on current events, and the Vdot world is on Twitter. The Vdot Northern Virginia Twitter page is very active and sends out, pushes out reminders of advisories and updates and current traffic incidents. So it's a great place to keep updated as construction continues and as you travel throughout the region. And finally, we have many direct points of contact where you can reach project team members with questions or concerns. Of course, in-person outreach, we still do it pre-COVID pandemic. We did a lot of HOAs and community briefings. We're still available to do those either virtually or in person upon request. And we have can be reached by phone and email as well. As part of that phone and email communication, FAM Construction has a hotline that is available to you tonight to be able to call in questions, but also is available at any other time should you have inquiries or concerns about immediate construction activities. That number is here, you can see here on your screen. The Vdot Customer Service Center is also always available to callers, and both of these numbers go direct to project staff. And finally, we have two email addresses where that go directly to our project staff, which we monitor regularly and are able to respond with questions and inquiries in a very quick fashion. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Susan, and we'll begin our Q&A session.
Thank you, Nancy. And so just a little bit of housekeeping reminders. You can, to ask a question, to type it in, you can click on the Q&A room and select all panelists and type your question in. If you're not able to do that, you can call the number there, 703-662-3892, or you can email us at the outreach@fam66.us, and we'll be checking that as we move through the meeting. We are scheduled to be here until 8:30, but I will say, we'll be here as long as there are questions, and once we get through those, then we would close the meeting out. I would also note, and Nancy may have covered this, but we have been out there in the corridor meeting with direct impact communities, and certainly we're willing to do that if your community has specific questions or areas of concern. It's often really good to get out and actually look at what the concerns are so that we make sure we understand what the concerns are and can address them in the best fashion possible. And so with that, I'm going to start reading through the questions that we've seen come up on our chat room. So there's a question about, is there any plan to extend the Orange Line Metro further west as VDOT expands I-66? The Fairfax County's Comprehensive Transportation Plan does anticipate a future extension of the Orange Line in the vicinity from the Vienna station where it ends today to the vicinity of Centerville. They have planned stations at Monument Drive and at Stringfellow Road, and you can see where they've identified there's park and ride lots, there's access to the express lanes, and those are areas where buses can get easy access into the express lanes where they can have good travel times, and that they can be assured that their travel will be 45 miles per hour or better. And so that's already set up in the corridor, and then those would convert at some point in the future whenever Metro does come out. Our project is building all new bridges, especially in this eastern end of the corridor, so that they will accommodate rail in the median and that it could easily be extended. So we're making a major investment just with our project. But that said, actually constructing a metro system is much more expensive and it's currently not funded. But I will just say there's definitely planning and we're laying the groundwork for that. And we see this corridor as a transit corridor that will work together with the roadway network that we're constructing today. There's a question about, will the shared use path cross over 66 at Route 50? The shared use path does come along the north, along the westbound lanes to the north of 66, and as it moves through the 66 interchange, it does cross through that interchange and makes a connection over to Random Hills Road. And if you look at the interactive map, it's a little complicated, but it is all grade separated through the 66 interchange. You do not have to cross 66 traffic to make that connection. And then you can also connect along, if you continue to Route 50 West, you'll be able to connect into the Pender neighborhood that's back in there. Okay. There's a question about when will the auxiliary lanes be available between the interchanges throughout the corridor? And I would just say definitely by the end of 2022, some maybe into 2023, but you know, this corridor is very constrained. And so we're having to make do as we kind of keep traffic moving while we're also constructing. And so there are some places where we would be able to deliver those sooner, but there's other areas where we really do need the space. And as you approach the way, it gets tighter and tighter in that corridor. I'm sure you can see that as you drive it. So there's also a question about, is the width of the new I-66 wide enough for the rails for future extension of the Orange Line Metro? And we did leave 42 feet in that median, and that's based on having enough room for a two, track system similar to what is out there today. And then also allow for bridge piers. We also looked at where we know the stations are. The footprint bumps out just a bit. We've accommodated that. There's a couple of places where we're not providing that. Monument Drive is one of those because of the existing infrastructure that exists there today. We're just tying into that. But many other places we are, pushing that out. At Route 29 in Centerville, a significant investment is being made there to push everything out. And Route 50 all the way in to the east will include that. The ramps at Stringfellow Road, today there's a median ramps that are right in that space that would be likely used by the Metro, and those are all being pushed out to make room for the future rail and the station that we anticipate would be there at the Stringfellow Park and Ride lot. I know there are a few direct impact questions, and so some of those we will be following up individually with the group. And right now, we're not seeing any other questions. I will just give a few minutes here to see if anybody does have any additional questions that they would like to ask that they did not have not seen addressed just yet. So so when will the shared use path be opening along this section of 66, and will it be opened all at once or in segments and phases? We are still pretty far away from our December 2022 date. You can see that some of the sections are being constructed. And I would just say, if there's an opportunity to deliver a usable segment in a safe manner while we complete construction in the corridor, we do understand that there's certainly a desire out there for that. But our, top priority is to make sure that we make the shared use path is safe and that it's safe while we're completing this construction. And so that would be our top priority. So at this time, we're not committing to anything prior to the completion of the project, which would be in mid-2023. So we do have one last slide, and I'll kind of cover that, and then maybe there might be some further questions. Just as a reminder, and I know Nancy mentioned this, and I'm sure if you drive the corridor, you're certainly aware that every day things are changing. There's a lot of work that's going on out there. About $60 million worth of work per month is being accomplished in this corridor. That's a lot of changes, and it means changes for drivers. And so we just ask that you really be alert when you're driving the corridor, that you pay attention to all the signage. And there was a new law that was passed last July in Virginia that handheld cell phones anywhere in Virginia is illegal and can be a first offense. So we just ask you, especially in this corridor, but really wherever you drive in Virginia, to remember that. And again, stay informed. There's plenty of opportunities for that. If you have a request for a community meeting, please let us know. We'd be glad to come out and work with your community to listen to concerns and see what we can do to address them as we complete the construction on this project. We have one more question coming in. So when will there be a bridge to the 66 East express lanes from the 66 regular lanes between Nutley Street and 495 in order for all 66 traffic to access the 495 express lanes? Will there be a toll for those who have to, will you have to pay a toll for this maneuver? There is I believe, Rich, that's the flyover ramp that's under construction today. That would be opening with the express lanes in December of 2022. And that would allow drivers from the general purpose lanes to fly up and over the general purpose lanes from the right and to land into those express lanes as they approach the Capitol Beltway, to either continue on to 66 inside or to make connections at the Beltway to the 495 express lanes. So no further questions? All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining. We really do appreciate it. This will be was recorded, so you will be able to watch it on YouTube, and we also will post the slide deck on our website. So thank you very much, and have a good evening.